Welcome back to Da Nang, Vietnam. I'm Evan A. And today we're going to talk about the easiest countries for Americans to move to live abroad in, to retire in 2026. And I want to start by sort of flipping on it, right? Like, what if I told you these three easiest countries for Americans to move to are no longer the classics, right? Not Portugal, not Spain, not even Mexico, maybe not Thailand or some of those ones, right? No matter what all the other sort of thumbnail gurus and YouTube blabbers are telling you, I know, you think I'm gonna say Vietnam, and maybe I will. Mexico is definitely still the most searched for American relocation country, but in my mind, the best times there were 15 years ago. Thailand is the backpacker fantasy, the retirement fantasy, maybe the sexpat fantasy. Spain is definitely the America's discovering tapas starter kit, the place where everyone wants to go to sort of find culture, right? To walk down the Rambla in Barcelona, to feel like there's something more than a suburban Midwesterner. And look, I'm not criticizing, I'm from Toronto, I'm from a gray, cold winter city. But the fact is, a lot of these places are changing. The paperwork, the wait times, the reality on the ground, the rising rents, the pushback from locals, the visa situations, whether it's crackdowns, new entry rules, or ultimately some sort of horror show at your consulate because there's been a scam or a Ponzi scheme like in Portugal. These doors aren't closed, but they're no longer effortless, right? The sort of classic move abroad countries. So today I'm gonna flip it up and we're gonna talk about some of the other destinations. I promise none of these three are gonna be Vietnam. These are the legitimate, real, easiest countries for Americans to move to in 2026. I will talk to you about where I live in Vietnam, but first I'm going to give you one from Europe, one from Latin America, and then a third country also from here in Southeast Asia that is not Vietnam, but is literally next door. We're going to break it all down with some basic categories, the stuff I always love talking about on my channel: flights, visa eligibility, banking, dating, safety, crime, healthcare, and of course the almighty cost of living compared directly to the United States of America right now. So let's get into it. If you're gonna stick around with me, obviously I appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button as well. First country is Panama. This is the Latin American plug and play move. If I was a retirement 65 pluser in Florida, I would want to shift gears and move to Panama. It isn't just friendly to Americans, it's practically designed for American retirees and move abroad folks. The fastest wins are gonna be so quick for you, right? Why it's so easy. Okay, you can get residency faster in Panama than almost anywhere else on planet Earth, and certainly in the hemisphere. It's not ultimately even that far away. The Friendly Nations visa is basically a bring your documents, get residency, direct through line, no lottery, no concerns, no worry. Most of all, no stress, no crazy minimum income requirement, not a lot of paperwork to prove, no Spanish exam, no cultural acceptations, no 5-year waiting period like Mexico. Americans do not need to leave every 6 months if they relocate to Panama. You can literally stay indefinitely on the residency. It's another enormous bonus, right? I don't want to be moving all over the place. And permanent residency is not a fantasy in Panama. It's a well-trodden path. There are plenty of people who've done it before. Likewise, the cost of living versus America is another huge benefit. So let's compare Panama City to a mid-range US city like a Denver or Austin, places where prices are creeping up. First, we'll talk about rent. In the US, you're gonna look at $2,000 to $2,400 for a one-bedroom, decent-sized retirement place. Panama City, you're gonna half that, $700 to $1,200. In Boquete, outside of Panama City, you're looking at an even more affordable price, maybe $500 to $800 a month. This is instantly going to be a 50 to 70% savings on your housing, right? That's not even taking into account things like healthcare. In the US, an appendectomy can cost 20 grand, 45 grand. In Panama, private hospital, an appendectomy is gonna be maybe 2 grand, 4,500. You're gonna save the cost of a used Toyota every single time you get sick or need a basic procedure. Likewise, groceries. Your US monthly grocery bill, I mean, $450 to $650 is a pretty conservative estimate, I'd say. In Panama, you're gonna half that, $250 to $350. There's gonna be cheaper local produce cheaper fish, cheaper staples. Food might even be better. Utilities, okay, yes, an AC heavy city in the US, it's gonna be $200 to $350 a month, about 10 bucks, 12 bucks a day. In Panama, it's gonna be 60 to 120. It's gonna cut down to $2 to $4 a day. And now let's talk about flights. If you're going from southern US, like Miami to Panama City, it's just 2.5 hours, right? And you can often find these for under $160, last minute deals, no need to plan ahead. It's easier to fly to Panama than to fly to New York, Texas, or even back home to Toronto for me. There's also a massive banking advantage when you're in Panama, right? So Panama uses the US dollar for anyone who's not familiar with, and this means there's no conversion risk, there's no foreign exchange costs to worry about, there's not gonna be an inflation or sticker shock, right? And opening a bank account in Panama is much, much easier than Mexico, Colombia, Costa Rica, some of the other standard Latin American destinations. Let's talk about dating and culture, because Panama City is modern and global. Somewhere like Phuket is semi-retired expat paradise, and English is widely spoken in these places. So if you're not ready to learn a new language at an old age, you're not necessarily going to have to. There's already a big expat community there, and they tend to be very accepting of foreigners. It is a relatively international place for Central America. The bottom line on Panama in 2026 is for Americans who want something close, stable, easy, and affordable, Panama is the cheat code. It is literally set up and made for you to do this relocation. Next up, we're going to shift to Europe and somewhere I keep hearing about now, Albania. This is number 2. It is the European door that is now wide open, especially and specifically for Americans. Americans often think European retirement is impossible because of the cost factor, because it's just too much of a leap for them with language-wise. The Schengen zone made residency a bureaucratic maze. Spain has tightened income requirements, and at the same time, property costs have gone up there. I remember dreaming of buying a flat in Barcelona 10 years ago. It was 100 euros, like 100,000 euros. Same flat now is 400,000 or 500,000, so I definitely missed the boat on that. Portugal likewise doubled their minimums for entry. Greece is overwhelmed, and Reality Check does not have the infrastructure. Italy, beautiful, welcoming-ish, depending on who you are, but slow. Albania, on the other hand, is the opposite of Europe in that way, in the best way for you, right? Visa access is ridiculously easy. Americans can literally just stay up to 12 months visa-free. Boom, next topic, I can just shut up, I don't need to talk about it. No extensions necessary, no border runs necessary, no overstay panic, literally none of the hassles any other country would have. And there's not the leaving the EU every 90-day issue, because this isn't the Schengen zone in the EU and that rule does not apply. So you're just talking about a full year on your passport. That is literally unheard of. I mean, where else in the world can you do this other than Albania? And if you want to stay even longer, like long term, residency requires paperwork, but not a miracle, not a 3 to 5 year wait like some people are doing in Portugal now. So let's talk cost comparisons with back home in the US. Let's compare Tirana, the place you're most likely to land and find a soft landing, to a different American city, like say Minneapolis or Tampa, somewhere a little more relative in size. Rent-wise in the US, one of these smaller cities is going to be more affordable, maybe $1,500 to $2,000, but likewise, Tirana is significantly more affordable than Panama City. You're looking at maybe $300 to $600 US rent. That's it, not a typo, that is the real deal. Talking about $10 a day US for your housing, maybe up to $20 a day for a nice place in a walkable city. Likewise, groceries in those cities in the US are gonna be $500, $600, maybe more. I'd probably spend $900. In Tirana, Albania, you're gonna look again at a cost of sort of $10 to $15 a day. The Mediterranean diets are cheaper and healthier than the US, and that is a big reason why I would look into moving to a European destination, the food, right? So let's talk about dining out. In the US, you're looking at easily $20, $30 per meal. In Tirana, you're looking at 4 to 8 euros, so maybe 6 to 10 bucks. And yes, you can live a cafe style life without having to sell your organs, right? Just gonna be out in the street, sitting in a European destination, reading, relaxing, journaling, maybe working from your laptop a bit. I know the big concern with Europe is, but it's not actually cheaper, right? So let's talk healthcare. Because I think in the US, take an MRI for an example, you're looking at $2,000 to $3,000 minimum. In Albania, you can get an MRI for 70 bucks to 150 bucks. Dental cleaning for $20 to $30. Fillings for $40. A root canal for $100. I researched this stuff because I thought it was ridiculous, but it's all true. You're getting Europe level healthcare with Southeast Asia prices in a lot of these parts of Albania. So let's talk now about the lifestyle aspect of it. Albanian cities are safe, social, fun, and generally quite a bit younger than the US. So if you're looking at dating, you're gonna be in luck in the fact that English is very common. The nightlife is definitely gonna be underrated in Albania. There is gonna be a party scene. Foreigners stand out, but that is not necessarily a bad thing. So let's talk about how you actually get there, because I know it's on my list of places that I really want to go and check out in the next year. Tirana is one of Europe's fastest growing airports, and you're gonna be able to find 20 to 50-euro flights to Italy, Greece, Germany, Austria, Turkey, and Eastern Europe, and easy connectors through any of those destinations from the continental US. So you get this European life without the European barriers is how I would think of it. A beautiful, lovely option that is clearly sort of on trend, similar to here in Da Nang and my Dragon Bridge. I'm gonna take a little moment to talk about that and why you might want to move to Vietnam before we get to our neighbor, Cambodia, the easiest visa situation in Southeast Asia. But let me hit you with this really quick. I've been living in Vietnam for 6 years. I love it here, I feel safe here, it's affordable. And if you've been watching my channel or just this video and thinking about how can you also make a move to Vietnam, you're not ready for Europe or Latin America, and you want something more affordable than Thailand and maybe more affordable and safer than Cambodia, honestly, just move to Vietnam, at least give a mini retirement a try here. I've got a masterclass link below, it's only 60 minutes, talks about the 8 biggest questions all of you guys ask me: banking, housing, healthcare, dating, visas, etc. And you can start watching that right now. For the moment though, let's get back to Cambodia, the neighbor, which is going to be #1 and certainly the best place in Southeast Asia for Americans to move in 2026 if we're talking about ease, just actual ease of entry and getting in there. There's tons of cons about Cambodia. I could certainly bait and switch you with this, but if Vietnam is the best lifestyle country in the region for me, Cambodia is definitely the easiest country. Cambodia, for Americans to get into, it's literally a walk in the park. It's a walk through an airport, and the new airport, if you haven't seen it in Phnom Penh, is friggin' beautiful. They just spent $1 billion, it just opened. Cambodia, the easiest visa system in Southeast Asia for an American, without question. So ultimately, if you want Asia without the paperwork pain, the hassle of Thailand, the concern of the visa runs in Vietnam, Cambodia is gonna be the smoothest landing zone in the entire region. Yes, even more so than Philippines in 2026. It is easier to legally live in Cambodia than Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, or Vietnam, period. The visa advantages for Americans are real, and I don't want to pretend they're not there or ignore them. So Cambodia's visa system is legendarily simple. Tourist visa lets you in for 30 days. You then extend to 90 days, switch to a long-term E or ER visa or the business visa, the EB, renewable annually. There's no employer required. There is no income requirement necessary. There are no interviews. There are no border runs. No crazy paperwork. You literally just show up and do it once you're already there in the country. You can play a visa agent there too if you want. It's the closest thing Southeast Asia has to show up and stay for as long as you want, no questions asked. Let's talk about the cost of living in Cambodia versus the United States. We'll compare Phnom Penh, which is the biggest city, with somewhere like Houston or Phoenix. Rents in Phnom Penh are obviously going to be cheaper, so the question is how much, right? If in the US, you're looking at $1,700 to $2,200. In Phnom Penh, you're looking at $300 to $600 for something comparable. Even a luxury serviced apartment for $700, $800. These are like new build, brand new developments. Groceries, likewise, are going to be a third of the US, maybe $220 a month. $350 max. Street food meals are incredibly affordable and delicious in Cambodia. Talking about in the $1 to $3 range for like a full meal. Try finding that back home outside of Costco or Sample Tray. It ain't happening, folks. Okay, so healthcare in Cambodia, obviously the biggest concern in a lesser developed nation. Yes, private hospitals are modern and they are far cheaper than Thailand. Are they quite at the level of Malaysia or Thailand? No, they're not. Are they at the level of the French hospital in Saigon? Probably not, but they're cheap. A clinic visit is gonna be 10 to 25 bucks. Hospital checkup, 40 to 80. And there is a banking cash money advantage in Cambodia because Cambodia lets foreigners use both currencies, the local real as well as the US dollar. It also lets foreigners open bank accounts while on a tourist visa, so you don't have to worry about Thailand or maybe even Vietnam where you have to frequently enter the bank with your ID. I don't mind it, but I'm on a different kind of visa than most. So what are your options there? Western Union, Wise, ABA, ACLE, DA. Everything works smoothly in Cambodia. Obviously, I would recommend what I use here, which is transferring your money from home to Wise first, then linking Wise to your local banking account. My affiliate link for Wise is below and you can use that to sign up. I use it every single day. I also have it plugged into my Google Pay wallet so I can tap, very easy, cardless, cashless. Let's get into dating and lifestyle. Of course, all the single gents and maybe a couple gals are wondering about that. Phnom Penh is urban, it's social. There's quite a lot of expats. Siem Reap's a bit more artsy, calm, temple, tourist, yoga energy. Kampot, a little out of the way, river life, very chill, quiet, laid back. Kep is a tiny, quiet, soft retirement town by the beach. Cambodia is the friendliest, most open, least bureaucratic country in Southeast Asia for long-term living right now in 2026. I would not live there married to a Viet, but if I wasn't married to a Viet, I would definitely consider moving to Cambodia right now. Before we move any farther though, let's talk about a couple of the honorable mention countries. These are the runner-ups that when I was doing my research came up, but didn't quite make the top 3 easiest for Americans. So these are still extremely doable countries for a lot of you. Georgia, yes, Joseph Stalin, Georgia, that place, the former USSR. 1-year visa-free residency through a simple business registration is gonna let you into Georgia without any problems. It is dirt cheap. It is relatively safe these days. I know it seems hard to believe, but it's true. There's insanely easy banking setup. Next up, back to Latin America, Ecuador. Okay, so Ecuador, very low income requirements if you're looking at residency there. The retiree visa is also quite popular in Ecuador. It's a very affordable option and their healthcare is also very affordable and quite good. There's a strong expat community in Ecuador, and let's go back to Europe for the next one, Serbia, which also has a fast residency process that I've looked into for getting my family into Europe if I want to go that route one day. It's affordable. There's a lot of digital nomads doing it because the visa process is so friendly to digital nomads, because it's so close to the EU without the EU paperwork or costs. It's also very beautiful, the beaches in Serbia, I'll just say. Nicaragua, another option, careful politically, but easy legally. Very simple residency for Nicaragua, much safer than it used to be. Very, very low cost of living if it lacks infrastructure, and growing pockets of expats because of all this. Next up, Belize, which is truly one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my life. Like Kai Kalker is a dream. It is English speaking. It is easy qualified retired persons or their QRP setup program. It's literally like a Caribbean postcard. It's close to the US. It's low stress and low bureaucracy and less of the pushback you might experience today in a place like Mexico. I used to spend quite a lot of time there. So after all that, let's get to the end point here, which is like, why did I choose Vietnam? I'm sure if you stuck around 20 minutes, you want to know. Because moving abroad isn't just about the easiest route or the easiest country or the easiest paperwork, right? There's a lot of other factors that come into my own life decisions and why I ultimately live here. So for me, it's this city. It's that Vietnam is the place where everything just clicked. It had some of the best food in Southeast Asia. When I got here, it was sight unseen. It has safety that rivals Japan, which I think most people don't understand or respect. The modern infrastructure is improving rapidly every year in every city, even since 2019 when I first got here. There's coastal cities like Da Nang that really feel like the future. There's easy beach access from Saigon and Vung Tau or Phu Quoc. And the cost of living versus quality of living is just impossible to ignore. It's also a culture that values family, community, and stability, which I value and which is why I got married here. It's a young, optimistic, entrepreneurial society that allows you to fail and try things and basically hit reset on your life and try and find a new person. It's allowed me to find new life worth, new wealth. Yes, Cambodia is easier. Yes, Albania is the European hack. Yes, Panama is probably the most American-friendly retirement shortcut in the world with the Pensionado visa. But for me personally, Vietnam is it. Vietnam is my home away from home. It's where I started a family. It's where I have a life. And I still live incredibly well and an incredibly high quality of life. So if you're curious, again, about my help with that, click the link below for the Move to Vietnam Masterclass. If you want to see how my buddy Nick lives, this is a tour of his $600 condo, which is actually right over there. I can show it to you. And it's a beautiful spot. Or you can watch this next video where I talk about the financials and how I actually retired in Vietnam at just 40 years old. Thanks so much. Mevene.